Hive CPQ, we have our own implementation team. We have our own implementation engineers, project managers, and the 3D team. So that's how we help our customers with building the configurator. As Stan already shared, that you can, of course, maintain your own configurator. You can configure it yourself. But some of our customers, they don't have maybe the time or the capacity. So then we can help them by implementing a part of the project or the full project. But what is important if you implement a CPQ project, or in general every digital project that you do, there are three main things that you have to take into account. One of the things is really that you need to have a focus on the scope, right? That you really have to describe the scope that you want to implement, because this will be your baseline for the project that will come. The best is to do that in the beginning of the project, right? You sit together with the stakeholders, you sit together like, okay, this is what we will do. This is the critical path. The critical path is the one when you start with until the end. That you really, all the steps that you really need to do to make sure that in the end you have a fully working, in this case, CPQ platform, right? And why is it important to do it in the beginning of the project? Because then there are some details that you maybe not know, some obstacles that you will encounter that you don't know yet. So it's very easy to say, okay, this is a scope that we want to fulfill, right? Why is it so important? Because based upon a good baseline, you can create a first or a high-level planning. You can create your high-level budget, right? So what we like to do is we like to make a scope together with our customer for like, okay, an MVP approach, right? So what is really what you need to start with to get some feedback from your sales team, from your own team, or maybe from your customers. And what's the thing that you really need to have in the platform that will give you a working platform that you can give to people that will use it and that you can retrieve feedback. Why is it important? Because then you can iterate. You can start from the beginning like, okay, I want everything, but then the project is becoming very big and it's much difficult to finish it on time, and then maybe you have a product, but your customers, maybe they will not use it. Maybe you implement it in the wrong way. Maybe you set it up in a way that's not fitting their business flow. So it's important to retrieve this feedback in a very fast in the implementation project. So that's why we try to encourage our customers, start with an MVP and then you iterate on it. Right? Why is it also, if you do scope changes, like I said, during the project, there will be some extra elements, right? You will learn things about your process. You will see, okay, maybe we can do it this way, or, oh, we did not think about that one. Every time when you encounter this extra element, you have to take into account, okay, this is something extra, right? This is not in line with the scope that we defined in the beginning. So you need to think about, will we just do it? But if we do it, what happens with the timeline? What happens with the budget? For example, if you need a certain change, do you want, I don't know, an extra 3D visualization, right? It can be very nice, but why would you need it now? Why would you need it if it deviates from your critical path? You have to think about it, because if you just say, oh yeah, let's do this, but then there's another element that you want to add, and then before you know it, instead of only going to your critical path, you have here a part and another part, and your very clean scope, it will be huge, and then the project, it doesn't continue fast enough. And then the risk is that you will get this project fatigue with your team, like, okay, another thing, and it's not yet live. And then in the end, maybe it never goes live, right? So sometimes it's better to say, okay, do we really need this extra element now? Is it important that the timeline shifts? Or can we say, no, we can do it later, right? We finish our first scope, and then we can iterate it with it. So that's very important if you think about a project, focus on the scope. Why do I share it? It's something that we also learn from experience. Our first projects, they are, we want to add more things. Our customer said, oh, maybe we can do this or this. And then, yeah, we work with it together. But then projects, they take longer, right? So now we are really trying to help our customers really put something live, iterate on it, gather feedback, and then add other things to it. Second thing, communication. It sounds so simple, but communication is key for every project to make it smoothly going, right? A communication, it can be internal, it can be external, it can be verbal or written, doesn't matter. There's lots of communication going on. And even when you think, I communicated very well, it is possible that the receiver didn't understand it the way that you meant it, right? So communication is really, I think, the most important thing of managing a good project. Why do I say that? If you have this communication and you, for example, you build your configurator and you don't communicate with the customer, we build a configurator and then we do the big bang, like, here it is. And then the customer, they expected something different. Yeah, that's not a good project, right? It's not good for you as a customer. It's not good for HiveCPQ because it's not a good project implementation. So that's why what we try to do during our projects is we have these different milestones during the project. It starts with a kickoff, right? You start your project. We do first an internal kickoff, where we go over the project, what was the agreement with the customer, what do we need, because a CPQ, it's a complex project, right? You have your complex logic that you have to add into the configurator. You have to look into your integrations, where will the CPQ will be in your architecture. So all those things you have to align with each other. So we have our internal kickoff, and then we sit together with our customers, with all the stakeholders, and we go over the scope. We refine the scope. We try to not to go too much in detail, but just make it very clear, this is what we will do. This is not in scope, this can be later, this can be done later. And then what we do is we start with giving a high-level timeline, high-level capacity planning, and then this way, this is a start, right? And then during the rest of the project, we add different steerco meetings where we sit together with the sponsor of the customer. We go over the progress of the project. We go over the timeline. If there are things at risk, for example, one of the things can be that the customer, they wanted to share a briefing, but they didn't manage to get it on time. So then the risk is that the project will be postponed. So those are the things that we try to have. I don't know, it depends on the customer, every 3 weeks, every month. So that's the circos. And then in between, we have different demo moments. So we build, it's also depending, of course. I'm talking about projects where the HiveCPQ team will build a full configurator or the first part of the configurator. Of course, we have hybrid models that we start a little bit, customer build further. So we are talking about the full project. So then we have different demo meetings in between. So we build on something, we share it with the customer. They can look at it, they can test it, they can give feedback. So these first iterations are very important, like I say, so that the expectation is really met during the project. Yeah, and then tool supporting communication, that's also important because, yeah, with COVID, you know, we worked remotely. Now we also have customers in the US, so our projects are most of the time remotely, but it works. Certainly with COVID, people are used to it, but we have, during Teams, but we also make sure that we share our time, our planning, I mean. We share our meeting notes, we share all the information that we have, that is very clear for the customer and for the team where all the information is. Also the other way around, customers, they do briefings, they give maybe presentations, but that's in a very clear way for everybody to know where it is. So communication, a very important part of a good and smoothful project. Then the third pillar is also important, is change management. If you do a CPQ project, or more in general, a digital project, change management is key. Why is it? Because if you want to do a project with, for example, CPQ, it has a big impact. People are used to working in a certain way, and then you come there with another tool, and they have to put effort in it to learn it. And if they are not adapting the tool, then it's very difficult to get them to use it, right? So that's also why you have to take into account the change management during the project. When you are, for example, if the question for CPQ comes from R&D, for example, and they want the sales team to use it, to customers to use it, then you have to involve these users. Try to get their feedback already during the project, not wait until it's finished, like, here is a tool, here you can use it. No, try to involve them already during the testing, right? Gather their feedback, because they will use the tool, and they need to make sure that it works for them. And why do I say it? Because if you don't take into account the change management, it's very difficult for the people to adopt it and to use it. So then you can make the best tool that there is, with the best intentions, but if they don't use it, it's not a success, right? Also, here is also there, supported by the internal organization. That's also important. If you have only one part of the team that really needs a CPQ, then it's really difficult to get the project running fast or smooth or efficient. Why? A CPQ, it's not only a local tool. It really has an effect on the different departments in your company. You need prices, you need input from the product, right? You need sales input, because you need to make the questions. So there's input from different, sometimes from finance or from legal for the GDPR rules. So you need somebody in the management that really stands behind it, that's really a sponsor or an ambassador of the project, because they have the power to really go to the different departments and get them involved. Try to get them on board and make sure that the project really goes. We also already had some projects where the sponsors changed, for example, or they moved to another department or whatever, and then the project falls still if you don't have somebody on the other side. So that's also very important to have this change management, that there is somebody internally really has a focus on CPQ. Because most of the time, a CPQ project, it's only part of the job, right? You have your job, and then you have to do the CPQ also on the side. So it's important that somebody is really focused on it. Yeah, so like I said, projects run smoother. There's less project fatigue. So that are very important parts of the projects. If you see some examples of our projects, so we have customers here in the zaal. Sorry, and later you can also talk with them, because not every project of us will run as efficient as we want to, right? So we are also learning and optimizing our project management. But these are some examples of our customers. So these are some experience configurators. You can also try them on our touchscreen there. So yeah, I would like to invite you to test it, to try it out. And if you have more questions in depth, how we handle some implementations or how we handle some projects with our customers, please feel free to come to our team to ask those questions. Of course, we're really proud on our customers. And voila, our last slide. Let's have some party. The summer party, the bar is open again. So thank you for your attention, and I hope you had a good evening.
Yeah.